Hello and welcome back to the Growth Minded Leadership Framework. This video is all about the stories. And the stories are the things that sit at the center of this coaching framework because it reflects the real work that you've actually done. It's not conjecture, it's not things that you may want to do in the future, but it's a recording, it's a set of examples of the work that you've done. Now, what's interesting is it's not by project. A project or an engagement may be the inspiration behind a story, but it's often the inspiration behind possibly two or three stories. So if I think of a project that I was involved with where I needed to recover a large program that was failing in a large bank, I think in that one project, I've got at least 3 or 4 stories. There's a story about how I set the culture of the team and set the culture of the ways of working with the client. There's a story about how I was able to use my commercial knowledge and understanding of commercials to make quick decisions to create space for my team to operate, for example. So I would not have one monolithic story, would be my suggestion, but break your history and your examples into bite-sized chunks. So why is this so important? So in front of you, you've got all of the leadership dimensions you see at the top, and Sam here has already entered 3 stories into his story bank. And what's interesting here is you can see on the 3 stories the leadership vertebrae that have been identified as being demonstrated through that story, and actually 10 habits that Sam's demonstrated within that. So if I was to open this up, you can see each story as a name, when that was approximately, where that story originated from, what was the situation, what was the task that Sam had to go and do, what actions did Sam put in place, and what was the results. And again, with stories, you have to actually click the button because you can use the AI across a number of stories if you wanted to go through your stories, enter the text and get AI to help support you refine them, or you can do them one at a time. So in this example here now, you've got an opportunity to improve my story or to evaluate the leadership habits. Now, I'll go back and show you what to do with that in a second. I just wanted to show you the structure of this first. So why is this important? If you want to if you've got imposter syndrome around certain leadership dimensions, if you don't think you're particularly strong in areas, and you've started to enter your stories, or you've maybe entered all of your stories, who knows, what you're able to do is to click on the leadership attribute at the top and get all of the stories where you've demonstrated evidence of being a strategic thinker, where you've demonstrated evidence of building deep and trusted relationships. You're missing stories for emotional intelligence, and maybe that will inspire you to think of times when you've been emotionally intelligent on a project, in an engagement, in a difficult situation at work or whatever that may be, and start to enter those stories into the tool as well. So what's nice about this is if you're practicing, you're building up your stories, and particularly when you have, for example, a particular opportunity in the future. So I'm going to come back a second and go to the spine. If I go to the spine for this opportunity, you will see I've got priority leadership dimensions that I selected when I created the opportunity. Look at the opportunity video to learn how to do that. But what I'm saying, for me to seize this opportunity, is I think I need to have my story straight and examples of how I'm a strategic thinker, build deep and trusted relationships, etc. It's not to say that the other leadership dimensions aren't important, but these are the ones that I felt, or Sam felt he needed to really excel at or have stories behind to secure his place on the talent program. So you can then go into your stories and say, okay, strategic thinking was one of them. Let me go back and remind myself of those stories so that I can then start to be more confident when I talk about when I turn up for work. You get somebody who's a strategic thinker. For example, I look at the big picture, I do my research, or whatever those stories may be, you can you can accurately start to recall them. So it's a great way of you being able to not lie in bed at night thinking, oh my God, I wish I'd said this, because these stories are very difficult to sort of dredge up from the past if you haven't sort of done some time to reflect and capture the data. So let's just take one of these examples. I'm going to select this bottom one. I'm going to go through and just remove the... oh, by the way, you see this go from purple to green. When you go through your stories, you can choose to actively pick a leadership dimension. And if you pick a leadership dimension like emotional intelligence, which hadn't been selected, you can go through and say, right, let's look at that. I think I was emotionally intelligent in this particular example, and I think I did this particular habit: responds rather than reacts, pauses before high stakes moments. So I think you can go through these vertebrae and pick the ones that you believe you demonstrated as a result of the story. If you take that off again, it removes it from the list. So you're saying, I didn't have any emotional intelligence in this story, I'm removing it. Where you've got it purple, it means the AI tool has assessed this story and it's identified a number of habits. So I'm just going to cycle these through to remove them, to show you how the AI tool works to do that. So give me a couple of seconds as I start to remove these habits. So now you can see this story has no leadership dimensions tagged at all. It's got a nice set of descriptions sitting behind it. It's been selected, and so I can now go to the AI assistant and say evaluate the leadership habits. It's hashtagging the story to the leadership dimensions and identifying the habits that it believes you may have demonstrated as a result of the detail of the story that you've entered into the tool. So once that's complete, you press done. Just remove that from the side, and then you can go through and take a look at what has been identified. Now, one example or a good practice I would say is don't leave things purple. You can if you want to, but maybe purple means you haven't quite centered that feedback yet. It's something you really need to consider. Did I really do that in that story? I may have done it in another story, so maybe it's a habit that I do, but was it really evidence? And if it wasn't, you can move it to grey. But if you did believe you've done it and you have considered it, then perhaps you move it to green, because green represents your decision to have that as a particular line of evidence. The purple and the green will get scored in your spine as the evidence score, so the EV score. Okay, so it's important. It doesn't matter if you leave it purple, it doesn't matter if you keep it green, but I think it's good practice to show that you've considered the stories, what the AI tool has come back with. You don't just take it for granted, because you want to be able to be confident. If you've taken your time to review the habit, and you definitely say that you did that, you might even refine your story to improve some of the text and the language behind it to make that even more have more stickiness to the story and a reminder of the things that you did, whether it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, etc. So the stories are really important. The stories have got different flavors, and you'll see them in the videos around mirror and eminence. But effectively, this is the backbone of the method. It is about your real experience, and therefore will help you build the confidence in the leadership that you bring every day.